And good morning. So we are going to begin this morning. Richard is going to lead us in going to build a mountain. And I have the lyrics here and I will share them with you. So if you'll just mute yourself, we can sing right along.
Here we go. Gonna build a mountain from a little hill. Gonna build a mountain, at least I hope I will. Gonna build a mountain, gonna make it high. I don't know how I'm gonna do it, I only know I'm gonna try. I'm gonna build me a daydream from a little hope. Gonna push that daydream up the mountain slow. Gonna build a daydream, gonna see it through. Gonna build a mountain and a daydream, gonna make them both come true. Gonna build a heaven from a little hell. Gonna build me a heaven, and I know darn well, if I build my mountain with a lot of care, take my daydream up the mountain, heaven will be waiting. Daydream up the mountain, heaven will be waiting there. Yeah.
Thank you, Richard. Push that daydream up the mountain. Good morning again. This morning, our practitioner of the day is Robert Brown, and I am going to invite him to do our opening prayer invocation, and he has some great quotes as well.
Good morning, everybody. I'd like you to close your eyes and relax and breathe in the wonderful air of this perfect day. Join me in consciousness in knowing that there is only one. There is only one spirit, only one power, only one consciousness in this life, in this universe, and in ours. I give great thanks for this. And I give great thanks especially for this spiritual community, for our togetherness, for our moving ahead together, improving ourselves, changing our life so that everything is good. I give great thanks for the goodness of life, the goodness of community, the goodness of collective consciousness. And I release my words into the law, knowing that they are so. And together we say, and so it is. So the quote of the day is from Ernest Holmes' Living the Science of Mind. And as most of you know, I think, but if you don't, Living the Science of Mind is basically several hundred pages of independent essays. And you can turn to almost any one and get yourself a lesson for living the science of mind, for living in joy, for living in peace, for living in consciousness. So Ernest says, realizing that I am one with all people, I affirm that there is a silent power flowing through me and them, which blesses and heals and prospers, makes happy and glad their pathway. And realizing that the world is made up of people like myself, I bless the world and affirm that it shall come under the divine government of good, under the divine providence of love, and under the divine leadership of the supreme intelligence. That speaks to me because of the collectiveness it talks about. Realizing that I am one with all people, it starts out with. And then ends with that the world shall come under the divine government of good and the providence of love and the divine leadership. And those are our lives. We live our lives to enjoy them to the greatest extent we possibly can. And we have the power to do that. Science of Mind says, change your thinking, change your life. And we have the power to do that because we can tap into the greatest power that ever has or ever will exist. The universal, collective, and creative consciousness. So let's be silent for a moment and meditate on that. Meditate on our togetherness. Meditate on our collective consciousness. Meditate on our mutual love. Meditate on the good that is our lives. And now I welcome you back to the Zoom room. And let's say together, October's affirmation. The power within me is God, and it blesses and heals all who come near it. Silently the work goes on, and silently all are being helped by the inner power which is operating through me. I give thanks that the power within is silently blessing and helping everyone to whom my thought reaches. And so it is. Now we're going to the musical venue.
Shall I start? Okay. Here's a song that Michelle suggested. You know, this song goes back to 1940. It was part of a Disney movie called Pinocchio. And it became actually the signature song for Disney, When You Wish Upon a Star. And I'm wishing, and I know we're all wishing, for world peace, for getting together, working together, realizing how much we have together and how much we lose when we're not together. When you wish upon a star, makes no difference who you are. Anything your heart desires will come to you. If your heart is in your dream, no request is too extreme. When you wish upon a star, as dreamers do. Fate is kind brings to those who love the sweet fulfillment of their secret longing. Like a bolt out of the blue, fate steps in and sees you through when you wish upon a star. Your dream comes true. So that's my dream. Fate is kind. She brings to those who love the sweet fulfillment of their secret longing. Like a bolt out of the blue, fate steps in and sees you through when you wish upon a star. Your dreams come true. Your dreams come true. It's my prayer.
Thank you so much, Richard. That was beautiful. Really reminded me that we can think of making a wish as setting an intention or holding a vision. Beautiful song. And I also want to thank Robert for that beautiful invocation. I love that very much. And as you were saying, to meditate upon, it crossed my mind that to meditate means to become familiar with. So we can become familiar with all of the things that you enumerated. Love and our connectedness was beautiful. Thank you so much. Oh, so a deep breath in. And good morning again, and welcome to One Heart, One Mind, Center for Spiritual Living's online Sunday service. And whether or not you're watching us live or you're watching the recording of the service, I'm really glad that you're here. And I do want to say that I'm looking forward to hearing from you during our sharing time after the service. If you were with us last week and you accepted my invitation to do one generous thing for someone anonymously every day this past week, or even if you just did one thing, I'd really love to hear about it. I want to hear from you after the service. So as I said last week, October's theme is going further together. And last week I spoke at length about how both spiritual traditions throughout the ages and current scientific discoveries point to our oneness with our source and our oneness with each other, our oneness with all life. And this is a powerful recognition for us. And it's an inspiring and an important step in practicing science of mind philosophy and being metaphysicians, let's say. But all of the spiritual principles, which oneness is one of course, it's not just enough to know it. We have to actually live the spiritual principles actively to become familiar with them and to live them actively in our lives. To truly affect any kind of change in our lives or in the world, we have to live the principles. It seems like it goes without saying, but sometimes we know them, but we don't put them into action in our life. And so I was thinking about the ways that we can actively live our oneness in our lives. And one of the best ways that I know, and we talked about this a bit last week, is to pull back from seeing our differences as human beings and to look beyond all the different ways that we look and think and feel and behave and engage with the world. And to recognize that at our core, we're all connected. We're all connected to the same presence and power and creative force that created everything and continues to create everything. And personally, I'm really inspired and encouraged when I'm able to pull my vision back from the diversity and the variety of life that we see everywhere around us. And I'm able to not only see, but to feel my oneness with you. And, you know, that we're in this one life, living this one life together. And when I see and I feel my oneness, I can't help but to be grateful for how intelligently designed and organized our universe is. I mean, to see such diversity, all from one presence, from one power, I'm just fascinated at all the ways that this one presence has created such a beautiful variety, what Holmes called it, a multiplicity of life, that we're able to see and to hear and to taste and to smell and to touch the world with our senses and to know even more. To me, it's almost mind-boggling. It's certainly awe-producing, and the world at times is simply breathtaking when we're present and we see the beauty of it. So last week, I also mentioned that while we explore and experience our world with our five senses, which I just said, we also have another way of knowing. In our oneness with our source, we intuitively know and feel our connectedness to the universe and to feel our place in it. And we know that when we go within, into the silence, there's a place where we truly feel our connectedness to this one loving, benevolent creator. You know, Ernest Holmes, our founder, said that intuition is to know without any process of reasoning. Intuition is a way of knowing the reality of our being, to feel that connectedness, our inherent nature and connectedness to the whole, without any analytical thinking at all. And when we go within, at least I know this is true for me, and it's probably true for you as well, we can feel that intuitively. We can feel our intuitive connection to it. So when my mother was alive, especially about the last 10 years of her life or so, every once in a while, she got really interesting near the end of her life. Every once in a while, she would see something or hear something about what's going on in the world that would really puzzle her. You know, she was starting to get some dementia and she would get really puzzled, especially tattoos. I remember she did not understand tattoos at all. And no matter how many times I tried to explain to her why people get tattoos, she could just not understand why anybody would want to have a tattoo. That's just one thing, and it's just kind of funny. I remembered that as I was putting this together. And she'd say something to me like, oh, I'm so glad that I'm getting older and that I'm not raising children in today's world. It seems so much harder than it ever was when I was raising my kids. We'd just get on this overwhelm. And she would just be struggling to kind of wrap her mind around what was going on in the world around her. And I would just stop. And I would take her hand and I'd say, you know, Mom, it really is pretty much the same. Maybe not on the surface. You know, we have a lot of technology and medical advancements, and the ways of the world have surely changed. But the truth is that the human condition is still the human condition. And we're all just doing the very best that we can to find our way, to feel safe and to love and to be loved. We're just all trying to figure out how we fit in the grand scheme of things and to have meaningful and fulfilling lives. And when I would say that to her, there would be this look of recognition and it would calm her down. And she would agree, yes, that the human condition is the human condition, no matter how old we are, or where we live, or when we live. And I still think this is true, that while we have these diverse cultures, different socioeconomic status, genders, and so much more, I could go on about all our differences, we're still human beings. And we embody the same divine inheritance, even though we may decide to engage with the world in entirely different ways. We have our own unique and individual perspectives, but our human experience of navigating a physical world while being divine is pretty much the same. We still have one foot in the physical world and one foot in our divinity. And we are charged with learning how to bring that divinity into our humanness. As humans, we all have certain needs. The great psychologist Abraham Maslow put it in his hierarchy of needs. First we need all of our physiological needs met: food, water, air. And then we have safety needs. We need a safe and comfortable place to live, a way to support and care for ourselves and for our family. And then just as important is love and belonging. And for me, these are like the meat of life. Some very archaic studies were done back in the 1915s. Well, around that time, around 1915, they did some, it was really before they had a lot of ethical standards in scientific studies. And these studies showed that babies under the age of 2 who were not shown love died. They called it failure to thrive. When the babies weren't touched or given any affection at all, I don't even want to think about how they came to that conclusion. They didn't thrive. And here's the thing: we are made of love. We are love. We need to give and to receive. It's a necessity for us. It's something we have to be able to live meaningful, whole, healthy lives. It's who we are as human beings and as divine beings. That's who we are. We need each other. We all long for connection and belonging. We seem to intuitively know, there's that other way of knowing again, that's what we need. That's what we need to be happy, to live fulfilling lives, and all of us try to meet these needs in unusual ways sometimes. Maybe not always the healthiest ways, but when we're in touch with that loving part within us, it does flow out through us in very loving and healthy and generous ways. It's really a fundamental requirement for being human, to give and to receive love, and to give and receive compassion and friendship. The golden rule tells us that we are to treat others the way that we want to be treated. This is a fundamental principle of life. Giving is as important as receiving. And I really believe that is true. So here we are. We understand at the core of our being, we are one. We understand that we all need to feel love and a sense of belonging and connectedness. And along with this recognition, we can also see and experience the incredible diversity of human perceptions and experiences. So the big question for me always comes up is, how are we ever going to be able to create a world in which everyone can live meaningful and fulfilling lives, and where everyone's needs are met with such diversity of perception and belief and all of the other things that we have? It seems like a really tall order, and given the division that we see in the world today, how the heck are we ever going to get there? Sometimes I puzzle about this. So I've been thinking about this all week, and I truly believe that the division, the unrest, the injustices that we see in the world around us are calling us to a turning point in our collective human experience. that we are experiencing the growing pains of a paradigm shift in our human evolution. That will enable us to create a world that works for everyone, for all of us to be able to live in harmony and peace with each other and with the natural world. I believe that all the things in our collective human consciousness need to be healed and brought into alignment with our true divine nature are showing themselves to us for our benefit. And that might seem like a stretch, but I really believe that's true. Whatever needs to be healed will rise up for our recognition. And it feels to me like we're on the verge of a shift in our human evolution. You know, one of many, I'm sure. I'm sure it's not the first or the last. And I believe that we're empowered to steer, to shift this shift in a positive direction. I truly believe that's true. You know, I believe that Ernest Holmes, he predicted about 100 years ago that what he predicted is coming true, that we are seeing the marriage of the wisdom of spiritual traditions along with the incredible discoveries of science. And this marriage, I believe, is what will lead the way for a paradigm shift in the way that we think and act and feel and relate to each other. And here is where I think, as students and as practitioners of science of mind, metaphysics, new thought, whatever you want to call it, that we are on the cutting edge of this change. Think about it. We already know that we are empowered to practice conscious co-creation. We do it. It's a basic tenet of our philosophy. We've already seen how empowered we are to practice co-creation, conscious co-creation, to align with the nature of divine within, which we feel when we go into that silent center, and to use its nature to express good in the world. We've already begun the journey of shifting our perception from thinking that we are at the mercy of the physical world to understanding and participating how we consciously participate with creative law. We're already doing it. How cool are we? You know, we're on the cutting edge of this new paradigm shift that I believe is on the horizon. You know, but here's one of the challenges that we face as practicing conscious creators, is that even in the age where we're learning so much about quantum physics, the wave and the particle functions that create the physical world, much of human thought, the common cultural thinking, is still pretty stuck in a way of perceiving the world that is based on a different paradigm, a paradigm where the world of form controls everything and influences everything. It's really Newtonian physics, but I didn't want to get off on that tangent. And we still live in a world where physical reality is seen as primary and our role as conscious creators as secondary, which makes what we as conscious creators contribute to the world even more important and valuable. You know, Ernest Holmes said that something that really hits home with me. It's in the Living the Science of Mind. Apparently, Robert and I were on the same page today. And he told us that self-awareness, and we could say that we're self-aware when we recognize our oneness and our ability to co-create with creative law. And he said that while self-awareness is important for clearing away the false perceptions, which we've collected along our life's journey, self-awareness is not enough. I love that. Self-awareness is not enough. We must put our self-awareness into action. Here's what he wrote. I have my quotes here, and it'll be in the chat. He said, self-awareness is not enough. It is merely clearing the track for right action. Something has to be done with self-awareness. So here we are, sitting on the cutting edge of this paradigm shift that we see happening all around us, practicing our conscious creation. What are we going to do with our self-awareness? What can we do in our own daily lives? What can we do with the self-awareness of our oneness and our ability to participate with creative law? And the first thing that I think we have to be able to do, we have to be willing to do, is to let go of our individual stories, our own individual perspectives, and find that common ground within our source. We go back to our place of connectedness, to our oneness. And last week I talked about Rumi's beautiful poem that says, out beyond the ideas of wrongness and rightness, there is a field. I'll meet you there. That field is the field of our oneness where we're all created. So we can consciously, when we see something in someone that we don't like, that we're tempted to judge or blame or say is bad, we can consciously step into looking at them as the divine beings they are and go to that place where we're connected. I know it's a big ask, but it is possible. It's here that we can move beyond all these different perceptions and opinions of the different people in our human family, and to the best of our ability, see into the soul of each individual. Even if they're not seeing into our soul, it doesn't matter. We are the ones who are on the cutting edge. We are the ones who are called to see from a different perspective. You know, I also remember a time I had just begun to explore science of mind, so it must have been 25 years ago, something like that. I don't know, maybe even longer. And I was really getting into metaphysics in general. And this was after years of kind of exploring what we might call new age ideas, numerology, astrology, psychic phenomena. But I still felt like there was something missing in those areas for me. And then a friend took me to what was then called the Santa Rosa Church of Religious Science. And of course, now it's called Santa Rosa Center for Spiritual Living. And you know how you get when you learn something new and it really speaks to you? It feels like you found something that you've been looking for all your life, and you kind of get excited, and maybe you could even say that you get a little spiritual fervor about it. That's kind of how I felt when I first discovered science of mind. I was just all in. And right about that time, we had this family reunion in Arizona. My parents lived in Arizona. And my very, very Catholic sister and I started having this deep conversation. We were talking about God, spirituality, the meaning of life, you know, really light conversation. And we started looking at all our differences. And I remember this really profoundly because it did really have an impact on me. We started looking at all the things that were different. And then finally what we did is we stopped and we started looking for common ground. And we kept pulling back the layers of dogma and the spiritual principles of science of mind that we teach. And finally we landed on one thing that we had in common. We both believed, and I'm sure still do, that God, Spirit, the all that is the creator of everything. And that creator is good and benevolent and loving, that we could use love as a synonym for this presence. And that was a real aha moment for me in my spiritual development, in my spiritual growth. I realized that as human beings, we're always trying to organize and understand our world in a way that makes sense to us personally, in a way that we can bring purpose and meaning to our own human lives, our own experience, and that it's not going to be the same for everyone. And while you may probably believe similar to what I believe because you're on this call, there are plenty of people like my sister who believe entirely different than I do. And a lot of the people that I share the planet with, there are certainly things that we will always have in common, that we are endowed by our creator, even if you don't believe in a creator, and that we all need love and long to be loved and to be connected. And I think it would be hard pressed to find anybody that does not believe that love and belonging and connection are integral parts of being a human being. So we live in a world where all people can live together in harmony and peace if we can find these even small places of common ground. And that, in my opinion, is how we begin to move out of this old paradigm into a new paradigm, from a world that focuses on our separation to a world that focuses on our oneness. And I believe that it's important to remember And I had a quote from an American philosopher named Thomas Kuhn. He said this, he said, all breakthroughs are breakwiths, some old way of thinking. Let me repeat that because I kind of tripped on it. All breakthroughs are breakwiths, some old way of thinking. We have to break with the ideas of our separateness and move into a breakthrough of seeing our unity and our oneness. You know, so I'd like to talk about a familiar tool that we already use all the time to help us to break with so that we can have a breakthrough. Keeping in mind that what we do individually contributes to the collective consciousness of all humankind. Because remember, in our oneness, we're all using the same mind. We're all thinking into the one collective consciousness or one mind. So I'd like to talk about our main spiritual practice, which is affirmative prayer. Ernest Holmes called it spiritual mind treatment because he said we were treating our minds, which we are. We're treating our minds to break with and break through. But recently I've been looking at this powerful practice through the lens of quantum physics because I've been reading and studying a lot about the process of creation, looking through the quantum physics lens. And it's kind of helped me to feel how, it's kind of helped me to update or look with fresh eyes at this beautiful tool that we practice that Ernest Holmes designed over 100 years ago. And it also makes me realize how ahead of his time Ernest Holmes was, that he really was ahead of his time and that he intuitively knew the process of creation and could feel it. So I'm not going to go into the steps and all of that. Most of us know that. And if you don't, there are plenty of resources to learn the steps of treatment. And, you know, if you don't know where to find them, please just text me or email me and I'll help you find those resources. So for those of you that are familiar, and even if you're not, we know that the first two steps of science of mind treatment are very meditative. We did it today in our meditation before the service. They draw us in. They are recognition and unification. And to use the language of science, this is where we step into the field of potential. It's where we let go of time and space. We let go of realizing that we're in an environment. We let go of our bodies and we move into that gap where all possibility exists. It's still uncertain. It is not yet, we have not yet focused on one idea or one thing that we're drawing in. We're living in this field of potential. And I read somewhere this beautiful quote, and I don't have any idea who said it, but the quote is, when things are uncertain, everything is possible. So we could think of these first two phases as stepping into the uncertainty, and yet it's filled with waves of potential and the nature of the divine. And it's here we're connected and in our juicy oneness with this beautiful creative energy that is God, spirit, whatever name you want to call it. It's here where we sit in this undifferentiated field of wave potentials. It's beautiful and it's brilliant. We feel its presence and our unity with it. And that's what we do in these first two stages of spiritual mind treatment. We move into that place that is yet undifferentiated. And then we move into the third step, which is called realization. And here's where we step into the idea or the feeling of our of what will be our answered prayer. And it's here we gestate the idea through our felt experience. You know, when I was doing the meditation earlier, I likened it to an embryo in a mother's womb, and it's here that we nurture and cultivate and focus our attention on this beautiful idea that is gestating within us, that we are bringing it to life through our love and our patience and our felt experience of it. If you want to put it in quantum physics speak, we are taking this wave of potential and we are slowing it down, and it is becoming a thing. Not just a potential, but a thing that we will experience in our outside world. But I think we really need to sit with it and be patient with it, just like we are nurturing an unborn and watching it as it becomes a demonstration. It's a very quantum way of looking at treatment, but it still keeps that same mystery and majesty and grace. And I really love that about science and about spirituality as well. So, and then of course, the last two final steps of treatment are we move into gratitude, the ultimate state of receivership, as Joe Dispenza calls it. And I love that. It's a power and a creative energy in and of itself, gratitude and thanksgiving. We just sit in it. And just that sense of, oh, I'm so grateful for the shift in consciousness, grateful to be able to gestate this new idea that is being born through me. It's phenomenal. And we sit in that, and when we let it go, we've done our work, and now we put it into the hands of creative law, and creative law always says yes. Of course, it's going to come into our demonstration. Oh, so I'm going to take a deep breath because I got really excited about that. So I wanted to let Ernest Holmes have the last word today. I'll still do a prayer, but I ran across this in the same part of the Living the Science of Mind book about self-awareness that I shared with you earlier. And I just love this. It seemed to kind of sum up everything that I was talking about this morning and everything we're kind of focusing on for the month of October. And here's what he wrote. And this is on page 430 of the Living the Science of Mind book, if you wanted to look it up. And he wrote this: we do not teach people to sit and monotonously repeat, God is all there is. For while it is true that God is all there is, it is also true that God is everything there is. The creative genius of the universe goes forth into action everywhere. There is no monotony in nature. The individual life must avoid monotony and self-centeredness through self-expression. And I love this because he's saying the same thing that I was saying earlier. It's not enough to be self-aware. We have to actualize. We have to move into action and self-express. And he goes on. Consequently, after we have come to self-awareness, we must start expressing again, no matter what our age. And for me, that really hit home. Engage in the joy of living and do it with others. The well-integrated person gets along with other people, not by tolerance, but through cooperation and probably seeing their oneness. This is the game of life, and it must be played. Oh, how beautiful. So I invite you this week to continue giving anonymously to people in your world, to continue to do generous acts for people that you don't even know. Just see how you feel and sit in it. And as you do your spiritual mind treatment, to lovingly hold that idea that you are giving birth to and nurture it and create it and know that you are empowered to change not only your life, but the world. So let's move into prayer. Taking a nice deep centering breath in. I know that God is all there is. It is the expanse of everything. It is in the void and it is in the fullness. It is beautiful and intelligent and ordered. It dances and plays and laughs. It cries and is quiet and silent. It is everything in our human experience. It is everything in the manifest universe, for it is all the body of God. It is all the body and expression of spirit. And we are in that as well. We are the demonstration, the expression of this presence and power. And as such, we are endowed with the same beautiful gifts of creation and givingness and joy and love and connectedness. how wonderful it is. So I speak my word for and about each and every person that is present on this Zoom call, each and every person that is listening to the recording of this Zoom call, every person that has ever been involved with One Heart, One Mind, every person that lives on the face of our beautiful Mother Earth. I speak my word for our beloved United States of America, and again, for this beautiful blue orb spinning in space, and for all of the universal presence of love. That there is a shift in consciousness, there is an opening, a new way of being, a paradigm shift of how we think, feel, act, and behave in the world that expresses the truth of our being, the truth of the divine being that is the creator of all. And we know it in new and interesting and loving and entertaining and wonderful ways. We know it in our divine radiant health, in the abundance that expresses through our lives and prosperity, in our relationships when we speak and talk to each other, and in all of the creative endeavors that we do in the world. It is everywhere present, and we are in the flow of it now. So I just say thank you for this. I know that there is nothing else, and I'm so grateful for my ability to participate and co-create with the nature of life. Thank you, God, for this gift, this presence, and this knowing. So I release this prayer into the hands, the capable hands of law, knowing that it is already so. Oh, and I take a deep breath and relax into that knowing, and we signify our agreement together by saying, and so it is.
You're muted, Michelle.
Oh, for heaven. Now I'm dark. There we go. So I just realized that Rob is doing the benediction, that I did not talk to anybody about doing the offertory. I'm wondering, Leslie, would you mind doing that? I will put up the information.
Sure. We now have the pleasure of participating in our Sunday morning donation, where we are able to support the center. And we have several ways that we can do that. Number one is with Venmo. And you see there on your screen what you select when you go to the Venmo to make your contribution that goes directly into our general banking account. Or if you choose to send a check, you can send that to our Assistant Treasurer, Jim Massipus. And in the chat section, you will find the address on that. So
Great.
let us now join together and repeat our sacred giving affirmation. I recognize that all supply flows from the divine givingness of spirit. My gift is the continuation of this divine flow. I give and receive from this infinite supply. I give in faith, in love, and in joy, and it flows back to me in kind, and so it is.
Thank you, Leslie. Do you want to give us our announcements?
Sure. On Monday evening at 6 o'clock on Zoom, the group that chooses to participate, we join together in consciousness in the form of prayer for the characteristics we would like to have expressed in our center and with each other. So it's a way for us to support this center and each other in consciousness as we join together in that prayer. And then on Tuesday evening, we are going to be covering the last two sections of Dennis Merritt Jones' book on abundance. And Maureen, if you would like to tell us what those last two sections are?
Yes. Be courageous and be a catalyst for good. And tomorrow I'll send out a few quotes and a little background for the last two chapters. And I want you to bring your ideas. And I want to talk about manifesting greater abundance and if this book has made a difference. Thank you.
Thank you, Maureen. Okay. Are there any other announcements?
Well, yes, I wanted to say that next week, our wonderful musician Richard will be at his reunion in, what is it, Genoa?
Genoa.
in Nevada, and we have a guest musician. And his name escapes me at the moment. I'm wondering, Jean, if you could give us a little, Jean set it up for us. Can you just unmute yourself and maybe, I don't know if you're there.
Yeah, I can put a link in the chat. How about if I do that?
That would be lovely. What is his name? I listened to him on his website and he was fabulous, but I can't remember his name.
His name is Ty.
Oh, that's right. Thank you. If you want to learn a little bit more, and we always love to have a little variety. And then, exciting, on November 3rd, we have, which is a Wednesday, we have the delight of having Dennis Merritt Jones speak to us about his book that we've been going over with Maureen and Yvonne over the last few weeks. And he's in Florida, so we're meeting at 5. I hope that you can make arrangements to be there. I hope that doesn't step on anybody's toes that are working, but we will record it. But it'll be an hour and a half of his reflections on the book itself, and also then we will most of it will be Q&A, so you'll be able to discuss with him questions you have or comments that have come up for you during the exploration of the book. But you don't even have to have joined. Yes, go ahead, Marie.
We also had the book earlier last year called The Art of Uncertainty.
Right.
That was his book.
Right. We thought about that too. Yeah, that's right. So we could actually ask him anything about that as well. But anyway, I'm delighted that he's agreed to do that for us. And there will be a little love offering. We're hoping that $5 or $10 can be sent on Venmo. And if you do that, it's not until the 3rd of November. If you could just say Dennis Merritt Jones, we'll know where that goes. But anyway, I think that's pretty exciting. So that's all I have.
Okay. Any other announcements? Okay, Mr. McGregor, our powerful prayer. We
All
are
right.
ready for our benediction.
Let's do this thing. So I get the opportunity to slip into the consciousness and feel the goodness. And I invite everyone here to feel the goodness with me, such that we feel it together, such that we feel the goodness as a family, that we realize the goodness of this meeting. We realize the goodness of this service today. We can feel the value of having our dear Michelle, who works to provide us with a wonderful message, and for Richard, who provides us with the wonderful music, and for the entire package that just sets up our entire week. I am so grateful. We're grateful for what we have, and I am so grateful for the family that we have that makes it work, that knows each other, that knows that we share this common belief system that works for us so splendidly. I do give thanks for all of this. I release my word to the universe. I let it be, I let it go, and it's the one that we are, we say. And so it is.
Closer.
Oh, beautiful. Thank you so much. Yes, Richard, we're going to sing We Are All Different. I got a song about our differences, but our connection would be good today. Let me put up the wrong thing. Here we go.
Okay, all together. So many people like grains of sand So much to learn about in every life. The more I learn, the more I understand. We are all different and we are one. So many sounds of every living thing. So many languages and songs to sing. So many gifts that everyone can bring. We are all different and we are one. We are relatives in one family. We are rainbows of color. We are waves in the sea. It's the same stars we wish on. It's the same sky we see. We are all different. We are one. We are relatives in one family. We are rainbows of color. We are waves in the sea. It's the same stars we wish on. It's the same sky we see. We are all different and we are one. We are all different and we are one. Connected in spirit and we are one. We are one.
Thank you so much, Richard. I love that song. It's a beautiful song. Thank you. And have a fabulous time on your